right, and thank you. Thank you for those coming in, and we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us on today's Power Up session, one of the Power Up sessions, this one entitled Improving Family School Partnership through the National Network of Partnership School Model in Columbus City Schools. My name is Garima Wildemariam, and I am one of two district-level family engagement coordinators for Columbus City Schools. And I'll go ahead and let my colleague introduce herself as well.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am Seneca Bing, and I am the other district coordinator. You'll hear from me a little later. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're here with us this morning.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and get started. And our plan for today's session really has three parts. We're going to talk a little bit about where we are as a district in terms of family engagement. We're going to talk a little bit about how we've gotten here. And then, as always, we want to look to the future and tell you a little bit about the direction in which we're heading. If you notice this all-in symbol, this has been a symbol that we have, even though formally used this year. We really want to pay homage to all the teachers and staff at the ground level, the bus drivers, the food service workers, safety and security, that really have been all in the entire year and a half, about 18 months or so now, during this pandemic. Without them, without the community, without our students and families, we couldn't do the work that we do. It has been a difficult time, but uplifting as well, knowing that we have one another and that we depend on one another. So where are we currently as a district? And I'm really going to touch a little bit upon these, but my colleague Seneca is going to go more into depth. A few years back, Seneca and I happened to attend a district level workshop that was actually given by Dr. Joyce Epstein from Johns Hopkins University. And we had the opportunity to sit and learn alongside many other district level leaders in the state of Ohio. And we were trained on the model, the framework of the National Network of Partnership Schools. And I have to give you a little context in that Seneca and I had really gotten a lot of pedagogical training about why. Why is family engagement important? The why, the what it is. But when we left that training, her and I both looked at each other and said, aha. This is the how, because we were very much influenced on that day by, the evidence-based strategies that Dr. Joyce Epstein presented to us about family engagement and how really to implement her 6 types of family involvement in the everyday work of schools and the school, home, and community partnership. So when we left there, we were really energized, and we presented that to our then, chief engagement officer. And we had a great discussion about how we definitely had to sign up. We had to be involved in this cohort. And so that was the seed that implemented this authentic engagement strategy that we are using right now. And at this time, in our priorities, as one of our top priorities as a district, we have implemented and said that we are committed to authentic engagement, which in our interpretation is where students and families are able to engage in the languages that they speak, when they are available, in ways that are accessible to them in multiple and many formats, in many attempts, and always with a bit of patience and grace. And so that is where we are as a district right now, and where we took all of the learning that we did with Dr. Joyce Epstein and continued education as well. And we have implemented and will implement this authentic engagement strategy. Now, when you think about that, this is the framework, and this is the framework that we are following. But one of the biggest impacts that we've been able to make is that we have been able to sit amongst our school improvement folks in our district and have this embedded into our school improvement plan. So every single one of our buildings, all 109, have a school improvement plan, and you will find family engagement strategy and languages found that comes directly from Dr. Joyce Epstein's work. That was a great win. And we are starting with our third cohort of schools this school year. And our plan, we have a robust and very ambitious plan to have many, many schools go through the training this year with the support of Ohio State. But our plan is to have an action team for partnership in every school by the end of 5 or 6 years. So again, ambitious plan, but we're ready because we know the importance of family engagement and the impact that it has. So you might be asking yourself, well, what are those 6 types of engagement or involvement? I'm going to go briefly into them, and then Seneca will talk about how some of that has informed the work that the district is doing. So first and foremost, these first 2 types of involvement, we really like to call the foundations of family engagement, because without them, you couldn't really do the work of family engagement. And the one thing that we've seen and that we've learned is that schools are really great at doing one-way communication. We're great at sending robo-dialers. We're really great at sending, pamphlets and flyers home. But we need to be more intentional and strategic with 2-way open communication. In other words, ways in which families have an intentional way that they can communicate back with the school. And just like we sit on our building levels teams and talk about math strategies, and we talk about ELA strategies, we need to have formal discussions about what are our tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 strategies of communication that we can use with fidelity as a building, and help our families to be more involved and to have better lines of communication. Another foundational skill, again, that we like to talk about is building relationships with families. And again, we need to think about really 3 questions. And that is, how do we welcome our families? How do we connect with all of our families? Not just the ones that are often in our buildings, but the ones that sometimes we think of as disengaged, which, Seneca and I will argue that's not the case for many families. It's just that we're really good at engaging the already engaged. But how do we really reach out beyond that and better connect with all families, regardless of the fact if they enter the building or not? And then lastly, the last question that we like to ask with this particular standard is, how do we honor all of our families, right? All differences, not just ethnic and racial differences, but economic differences, neurotypical, neurodiversity in this, all sorts of differences. How do we honor that? And so our schools are really having great discussions and including this in their school plans by talking about this particular standard. Another important strategy, and this one is one we need to really reimagine, is volunteer opportunities. We all probably grew up in the day and age where our moms and dads or different family members might provide baked goods for bake sales, or, come in and cut out letters on the Ellison machine. Well, not that those are not important, but our volunteer opportunities really need to be linked to the academic and developmental needs of our students. And so we have great discussions with our schools and our ATP teams about what are the volunteer opportunities in which we can, number one, use all the assets of our families, because they all come with assets and different skills, but what is it that we can do to help everyone be able to feel like they are contributing to a building? I'm often, I go back and think about a particular story. Seneca knows I'm a storyteller, but I think about my mother and how being an immigrant to this family or to this country, she did not feel like she was a participant in the school until someone thought to include her and share a little bit about her background to the school. Because she only finished 3rd grade back in her home country, she felt like she couldn't contribute. And that's a falsehood, right? She had plenty to contribute. And so the day that she came in to talk about our culture, you could see her eyes light up, and she just changed immediately and knew that she had assets and that people could learn from her as well. So again, recognizing everyone has assets is incredibly important. Our next level of our type of involvement is learning at home. And again, kind of reimagining this. Last year took us through a very difficult time for learning at home with our families. And we need to really think about how is it that we can help our families feel more confident or efficacious, right, when supporting their children's academic and developmental needs. This is usually the number one question that parents have when they come to schools, right? Fine, they'll hear about our homework policies, they'll hear about our discipline policies. What they really want to know is, what is that tip, tool, or strategy that you can give me to go home and help Johnny or Melissa be better, right? Or support them better academically. For those of you that are parents or that support young people at home, you know that there's nothing more exasperating than when your child is struggling and you don't know what to do to support them. So we have talked and had a lot of our schools choose this as a strategy and have really sat down with their ATPs and talked about what are ways in which we can support our families and help them to feel more confident in supporting their young people. And the last two, decision-making and advocacy and community collaboration. With decision-making and advocacy, this really has to do with something that schools struggle with. There's almost a hierarchical structure to schools in which makes us feel that we are somehow above parents and families, which is not the case. We need to really, again, reimagine and redesign the decision-making table to include parents to sit side by side with us, shoulder to shoulder, so that they can sit and provide their input into everyday policy, right? Not just on PTOs and PTAs for fundraising or different councils, but in the everyday policies, right, that impact their students and that impact their families. And then lastly, community collaboration. As you know, we really leaned heavily on the help and support of the community this past year, and they really did an incredible job in supporting the schools. But the one thing that we would like to say about this particular standard is that no one is truly independent of anybody else. We really need to get away from this idea of independence, but truly really embrace the idea of interdependence and the fact that schools, homes, and the community really rely on each other and one another to be successful. So this is another standard in which is included in our school improvement plans that many schools have included because, again, they lean on many community partners to assist them in their work. I tried to do that really quickly because all of that could have been really a whole hour workshop, but I will go ahead and pass it off to my colleague, Seneca Bing. Thank you.
Well, you did well, friend. All right. So one of the things that our district has been doing over the past year is really starting to develop a 5-year strategic plan. And so there has been many conversations with stakeholders, with parents, with students, with teachers, with just all of our stakeholders, community partners, to really think about what is it that we as a district want to do, what type of learners and students do we want to have, and then what is important to us. And so, as you can see, these are our priorities in our new 5-year strategic plan, with students leading the way as the banner. We know at the crux of everything that we do, we are here because our students are leading the way and for their success. And so when we look at our priorities, the whole child, equitable opportunities for all, strong learning communities, and then you will see priority 4 is authentic engagement. And that is where we live as a department. Now, I don't want to say that's where we live. That is where our strategy, where we will build a strategy to support our district. But really, we are infused in every single one of these priorities because you cannot have students leading the way without having their parents alongside them. And so as we think about everything, we as a department are going to build an authentic engagement strategy, but it will support every single one of those other priorities. And so when we tease it out a little more, Columbus City Schools will actively engage all stakeholders to ensure that every experience with the district engenders mutual trust, develops quality relationships, and strengthens collective support for the benefit of our students. And I usually don't read slides to people, but I really wanted to think about this authentic engagement department, strategy. And then it's led by our Department of Communications and Engagement. So we are in and housed with the Department of Communications And so that, again, our goal is to build an intentional strategy to really support our families. And as Garima said, interdependence is really important. We cannot do things alone, and we do understand that. And so we want to start in this space to build our authentic engagement strategy. And so we'll share with you some of the pieces to that. And so when we're thinking about our family engagement influence, as of now, Garima talked about the engagement strategies in the school improvement plan. And I actually pulled one of the plans to really start to, so you can think about how the plans are laid out. So each of our buildings have to write a SMART goal. They have to have a student measure, an adult implementation measure, right? And then they have to have evidence from the core instructional framework. That is their strategy number one. But strategy number two, in every single one of our sections, it doesn't matter if it's reading, if it's math, if it's culture and climate, if it is attendance, it is for them to have a family engagement strategy as defined by Epstein's 6 types of involvement. And not only the strategy, they have to then put action steps to implement the strategy. So what professional development, what monitoring, what is it that you will do, or to progress monitor? So what will you do as a school to build not an activity for family engagement, but a process by which you conduct your family engagement in your building? So we really are trying to get away from one and done activities and really talk about what is that process by which you are going to use based on these 6 types of engagement in your building to support your overall school improvement goals. And then we have virtual family engagement meetings that happen at the district level every Tuesday and Thursday. And what this has done, we started it at the beginning of COVID, honestly. When schools shut down, immediately that next Tuesday, we started having these meetings, family-facing meetings. And as you can imagine, in that space where there was a lot of confusion and people were everywhere, these meetings were not always the easiest to have. And I think that sometimes people won't have these types of meetings because they are not the easiest to have. But what we have found through the consistency is that parents now, they know that they are going to happen. They are now coming because they know that it's a source of information for them. And we're able to, in the chat, we ask them always to leave their comments, leave their suggestions. We're able to go back. If they call us on the phone line, we have an engaged email address. And so they are able then to give us information or express their frustrations. Again, we talk about with a lot of grace all the way through everything that we do, because we understand that frustrations sometimes come because you don't understand something or you don't know what it is. And we don't run away from that. We as a district understand that families are going to be frustrated, and we have to be able to deal with things head on so that they are able to get the information that they need to make the best decisions for their students. And then we, at the beginning of every year, have a countdown to the start of school with family engagement strategies embedded, though, this year. So the countdown happened every single year. This year, we started embedding family engagement strategies each day to prepare them for the start of school. And we found that also helped in communicating some of those things that we needed for our families to hear.
Seneca, I'm sorry. Someone asked, are those meetings still happening?
Yes, they are. And so this is the replay available website. I did link the website in the slides. And so if it's not in the material that you have, we will reload and send that information, the slides, to everyone. And so you can click on there. And the great thing is when you go to the Columbus City Schools website, that it's on the initial banner now. And so you can go right to virtual family engagement session, register, and then receive a link. But yes, they are happening every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yes. And sorry, I'm going to insert one more question for you. How was your family participation in those virtual meetings?
So it varies. We've had some that have had, 400 or 500 people in them. And then we have some that have had fewer families, but the reality is we also have found that even if a family is not there or present at 6 p.m. on Tuesday or Thursday, they are going back and watching them. And so again, when we're pulling the analytics and kind of taking a look at, are people watching these? Are they not? We found that even if we don't have all 20,000, 30,000 families on there that day, people are going back and watching them at a later time. And so we house them all on our website so that people can go back at any time and watch the replay. So when we think about our family engagement initiatives and how we are looking to, not just from a district lens, right? The district is a large piece, and we have 6 regions that each have their own area superintendent and each have their own principal coach and all of these networks of supports. But how are we at our district level with our family engagement efforts also impacting the school? And so we have a family ambassador program, and this program are parents, grandparents, it can be community members now, and they have a vested interest in that school community, and they help to build the family engagement strategy at the building. And so every building this year, our superintendent has, committed the resources. We talk a lot about resources and committing those types of resources to expand this type of programming. So every building is to have a family ambassador, but we also have an allotment because we have 109 buildings. We have an allotment of up to 130 because what we've also found in this work is that some buildings have different needs. So we've got 7 through 12 buildings, so they have a middle and a high school connected. We have language barriers, and so if a school needs another family ambassador for any reason, then we are able to do 2 family ambassadors in some buildings, and if they have huge language barriers, we may even do 3, but we definitely want to listen to the buildings and understand their needs and then help them to have whomever they need to support their building. And just one thing that happened in one of our buildings last year is they have a huge Somali population. And so they would hold family engagement meetings. I think it was every Monday at noon. And they would have their English family ambassador, English speaking, and also their Somali family ambassador and the principal. And it would be live translation happening. The other thing in those virtual meetings, and I'm going back for just a second, but the virtual meetings that happen every Tuesday and Thursday, we also have interpreters that are available, and we have our bilingual liaisons, engagement liaisons who are present. And so at any given moment, there's translation happening in our chat in all of our 5 major languages. So you'll see something in English, and then it will come in Spanish, and then it will come in Somali, and then it will come in our, Nepali language. And so all of that, and then we've also had live translations sometimes in which our families can go into a different room, and as the presenter is presenting, there is a live translator who's speaking to the families that are in that room. So all of that's happening at the same time, and it's pretty neat to see it when it happens. So back to this slide, we have the expansion of our family ambassador program, but then we have the hiring of 6 regional family engagement coordinators. I mentioned that our district is split into 6 regions, and each region has between 19 and 20 schools in it. And so our 6 regional family engagement coordinators will then be assigned to a region. We have 3, and they are fantastic, that are with us now. And they will work to support the family ambassadors and also to help schools in that family engagement space. We're going to increase our professional development offerings, and then we're going to continue the bilingual engagement liaisons in partnership with ETSS, which is Ethiopian Tehawando Social Services, so that we can have help our new Americans and immigrant families. I saw something come in the chat, Garima. We'll pause here before I go to the next slide. Is it a question or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
What types of topics are you addressing in your virtual sessions?
So it's a variety of topics. When COVID first hit, I'll be honest, we've had health and safety on. So our nurses are on there and they're talking about our health and safety protocols. We've had our partners at Children's Hospital. But we've also just had one on anxiety. right? We had a gentleman that was talking about anxiety in this space and giving families tips and tools on that. Last year, around moving into summer, we had a summer engagement there. And so for a few weeks, we had 6 or so summer programs come on and talk about their summer enrichment activities and how students can get connected and involved. So it just kind of evolves. We really think about what's happening at that time. We had our pre-K team on to talk to pre-K families. Last night, we have a blend ed. And so blended education is our virtual school at this space. So we had their orientation. So it just really depends on what's happening. And then we try to make sure that things fit with what's going on that month or in that space. Yes. All right, next slide, please. So we also want to grow and strengthen school-based family engagement, right? And so that is where the expansion of the memberships in the National Network of Partnership Schools will take place. Currently, we have 6 schools, but it is our goal to have at least 3 new schools in every region annually. So if you think about that, that is 18 new schools who will be trained and who will have their teams and who really will be doing this work. And we, of course, want to continue our collaboration with the Ohio Statewide Family Engagement Center. Dr. Boone and her team have been fantastic in this space and just working with us. Also, our state support team, Dr. Gibson is here on the line. We meet with them monthly, and we really, as a district team, think about how we are going to support our schools that are a part of the National Network of Partnership Schools. So Dr. Epstein likes to talk about a nested, or maybe it was Dr. Boone, likes to talk about a nested support system, and that is really what we want to have in our district, which is so large, but we don't want to make it this large district. We really want to have enough support so that our schools are successful in this in the program. And then we also want to strengthen our ecosystem of community engagement, right, and increase the resources. And so in a district, as you can imagine, any district, you won't know every single community partner that comes into the school, but it is our goal to capture as many as possible, because when we're talking about equitable schools, we also want to make sure that our community partners that are coming in, one school is not getting everything, you know, that we are being equitable in our practices. And so our partnership registry allows for community partners to come on. They will talk about how the work that they are doing will impact the school. And then we will try to match those community partners with the schools based, again, on their school improvement plan. Everything starts and ends there, because that is the plan that drives the school. And so we are really trying to build that partnership registry so that we can be supportive, because we also know that principals can't run a building and find all of the partners. Even though some are really good at it, we want to be able to provide a resource to help them in that space. And so we are working on that also. I believe I have talked enough. It is 11:56. And so that is kind of our quick power up in what's happening here in Columbus City Schools. So thank you for your time, and we'll take additional questions if anyone has any.
Yes, and thank you. As Seneca said, thank you all for joining us.
Wow, thank you for that presentation. I want to give folks a chance here. This is like a precious 3 minutes to be able to ask questions of all of you. The commitment and the structures and all the supports that Columbus City Schools have put into place is just really important. It's not just a belief that this is the right work. It's not just knowing this is the right work, but the action, and the action on this scale. You're really a huge district, and the biggest in Ohio. And so you've taken to scale this wonderful support and the equipping of that support. Here's a question, though. I want to be quiet so you get your questions in the chat.
I think I saw A question about does our school board attend our meetings? So the answer is yes. They don't let us know when they're coming on, but several times we'll look and we'll see a board member. But also back in January and February, there was every Thursday for those 2 months, actually maybe 3 into March, our superintendent committed to every Thursday being on the virtual sessions as well.
Kareem, I'm going to let you take this question. Has CCF done anything specifically or targeted for special education families?
Thank you. So she defaults that question to me because I am blessed to have 4 children with special needs. And that has been the most humbling thing that can ever happen, I think, to an educator, because you get to be on the other side of that table, right? And so one thing, as Dr. Boone deferred to, I think a lot of our life experiences and professional experiences have well-equipped Seneca and I for this role in this position. We try not to be assuming or presumptuous because we have walked the walk of several of our families. So I say all that to say that is actually one of our top initiatives of working and collaborating with our special education department. There's been a little bit of transition with leadership there. So we're going to actually be sitting with them and talking about how we can help better support families, because I'll say in short, I did not become a special needs mother overnight, right? I was lucky to have the support, and my capacity was built by the professionals in the schools, in the Department of Disabilities and such, to where now I can help share my knowledge. So I say all that to say, in short, yes. And Tina Wallace, I saw you in here, our parent mentor from Columbus City Schools. She's going to be also sitting at that table, and we're going to be working with our team from special education, gifted, and I also saw Rochelle Wilkerson on here from ECE. They have a phenomenal department in early education as well.
Well, I want to thank both of you, Jarima and Seneca. You all are fabulous partners with us. I'm so glad that we get to learn from you and work together closely with you. Thank you for today's session. I know people will be reaching out to you. And I just want to say to the folks who are here, if this is the last session that you're going to attend today, if you would please complete the survey. I put a link in the chat. So just in case you're headed out, your afternoon holds other things for you, please complete the survey. If you're going to stay with us and attend other sessions, you can fill it out later. We ask you just to fill it out once, but we don't want to miss you if this is the end of your time with us here today. So once again, thank you to our phenomenal presenters here today. Please join me in thanking them. We hope that you all have a nice quick break and come back to hear our panel of parents who are going to be speaking here shortly. So thank you again for this presentation, and thank you all for being here today. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tiffany, one of our family ambassadors. Andrea from ESC, thank you. We see you on here as well.